What is up, everybody? It's your local Ottawa fan, and today I'm going to be talking about the very painful 3-2 loss against PWHL Boston. Before we get into that, though, I got stuff to brag about. So first off, obviously we got this. Trelova, first ever goal, Skamura. We got Snodgrass, and of course, the GOAT, Lexie Adzija. Definitely, if you have the opportunity to go to a PWHL Ottawa game, I recommend it. The energy there is always great. It's always super fun, and after every game, there are autograph sessions. You get to meet some of the players. Maybe you get a picture in. Really, really good time. I wasn't able to go to the other two just because of time constraints, or other three because of time constraints, but I finally was able to go. Got some signatures. Really good, and also, I'm becoming a little bit more than a fan because your boy got the Kahoot trivia. So they have lots of fun things in between the intermission, including trivia on PWHL Ottawa. And I guess I've been studying up real good because I got first. So if you think you can beat me, go to a game, and who knows, you might just best me at my own game. Now let's actually jump into the game. We came out strong to start the first period. That was about it. We started maybe 2 to 5 minutes we were strong, and then other than that, it was all Boston. Boston was just so dominant in the first period. They tested us early, and we did good. Adstrider did very, very, very good. And I know her numbers aren't going to look great because of how little she played. The 2 goals that were scored against her were really not her fault. Ottawa took a penalty early. I looked it up. We aren't as penalized as I thought we would have been. But I do find that when we take penalties, we sometimes just take them at inopportune times. A lot of that has to do with most of our games are very, very close. We've only had one game where we were just on cruise control, and we have not had a game where we were losing by a lot. This was the first ever game where Ottawa ever was playing from behind, playing with a deficit. So most games have been close. We've either had a 1-goal lead or tied. So it might just be that, every penalty feels a lot more impactful when it's a tie game. When you're up by 1 with 2 minutes left, yeah, that feels a lot more impactful than getting a 2-minute penalty in a 5-1 blowout. It's easy to forget that. Boston makes us pay, though, when we do take that penalty. It's a good shot, lots of traffic in front, nothing you can do. We tried to get back into the game, as we always do when we get scored on. And again, we had like maybe a minute or two where it started to look like things would turn, and then immediately Boston took all that momentum back. They really controlled the first period. I mean, we were outshot, we were outscored, we were outplayed in the first period. There's no other way to put it. This was, in my opinion, the worst period of hockey that PWHL Ottawa has played. Now, that's okay. No team is going to be perfect every single period of every single game. There are 24 games. I'm pretty bad at math, but even I can tell you that that's a whole bunch of periods. That is, I'll do the math. It's like 72, I want to say. 72 periods. Going 72 for 72, no team's going to do that. It doesn't matter how good you are. No team's going to be perfect. I would say out of the first 5 games that we've played, out of the first 15 periods that we've played, I would say there's a solid 10 to 12 periods where we were very clearly the better team, very evidently the better team. That's good. That's pretty good. So these periods happen. And the second goal, it was bad giveaway in the defensive zone, kept happening. Bad giveaways in the defensive zone kept happening. We were very lucky. We did not get scored on. We kept icing the puck. We weren't actually setting anything up. We were just constantly just icing calls against us. And eventually, broken down play, 2-on-1 or a 2-on-0. It felt like a 2-on-0. I'm pretty sure it was a 2-on-1, but there was really nothing that could be done. And, you know, I gotta be honest, I was kind of, part of me, happy with who scored. It was Jamie Lee Ratchery. If anybody's going to score, it's her. And you know, it just makes me think, oh, like, you wish she was playing here. You know, come home, Jamie, we want you. Nothing can be done there. And to add insult to injury, or I guess in this case, it's a very literal sense. It's more it's adding insult to literal injury, because Abstrator goes down and she's not back for the rest of the game. And this is the worst case scenario. First off, she was having a very good game. She made a bunch of great saves. This could have been way worse. We were lucky to get out of the first period down 2-0, and that was in large part thanks to her outstanding play. And this is her first start. Maschmeyer has obviously been great. I am the biggest Maschmeyer fan, but I also was a fan of our tandem that we had, that Maschmeyer was not the only option. And then Maschmeyer kind of became our only option. I know we had a third string goaltender, and I was actually interested to see who we would put in, and we ultimately put in Maschmeyer. And although it was a 3-2 loss, I gotta say, in a lot of ways, it's kind of a victory. When you are already up 2-0, and your opponent is on a back-to-back, and their goaltender, who literally played less than 24 hours ago, is put in net for a good chunk of the game, like 2 periods and a half-ish, or a little less than a half, but still, like a majority of the game, you got to win 5-0. Like that's your option. You've got a goaltender who's already gassed, a team that's already gassed. How you don't win that game by at least 4, it's insane. And that is something that really impressed me. There was a lot of good and bad in this game. Obviously, the first period, bad. We have an injury. That's the worst of it. It sucks to see anybody go down. It sucks to see anybody get injured. But in their first game, in their first start, in their first period, I mean, it is heartbreaking. It really is. And I'm really hoping that she's all right. I'm really hoping that it's nothing serious, and that in a few games she'll be ready. I was trying to look good, and it sucked. But first period comes to an end. This is how we were all feeling, I think. At the end of the first period, it was the first time where I left, like, at the end of the first period and thought, I don't like this. Yeah, like, I don't like this feeling inside of me. Every other game at the end of the first period, everyone was feeling good. Even if it was 0-0, we played a better first period. Every single game, we were either up or tied, but playing better. We were losing, we weren't playing better. Which gave us something interesting. Now we got to see how Ottawa was going to play from behind. Because we have not seen that. We've seen them playing from in front. We've seen them playing in a tie. We have not gotten to see Ottawa playing from behind. And we saw how Ottawa responds to getting scored on. How normally there's like this rush, this burst of energy. And this made me think, okay, maybe this is what we'll get. That is exactly what we got. We dominated the second period. Boston hardly showed up. We were able to have, I think, more shots than them by the end of the second. Despite getting heavily outshot in the first, it was all Ottawa. Lots of offensive pressure, lots of shots. And I think this is something that I really liked. This was another 3-2 loss at home. And I'm going to get into why I don't like it always being 3-2. You know, we are a good team. We have a lot of offensive weapons. So why we've only ever been able to get 2 past the goaltender at home. I know against Toronto we scored 3, but one of them was an empty net. At home, we've only ever gotten 2 goals past the goaltender. But we took a lot of shots. We actually gave ourselves a lot more opportunity than other games. These are taking those steps in that right direction to get to a point where we're going to get to breakthrough, or we're going to have those 4, 5, 6 goal games. Most teams have good goaltenders. The goaltending depth in the PWHL is very, very deep. every goaltender, for the most part, is very good. So it takes a lot to beat them. Maschmeyer almost went the whole game without getting scored on, and it was only due to a giveaway at the very end of the game that cost that. She was elite. The goaltenders in this league have been really, really, really good. I cannot stress enough just how good the goaltenders have been. But if you don't test them, you aren't going to score. And did we test Boston in that second period? We controlled play. We had the puck. We had pressure. There were no answers from Boston. We did have a lot of like chances where it made me think like, oh, we need to clean that up. We have a lot of scrambles in front of the net that lead to rebound opportunities that we just don't quite get. You got to clean that up. You got to finish some of those because I would say in all of our losses, really, we've had a few of those opportunities where the goaltender was scrambling and there was the puck and we just didn't have anybody there to just clean it up, score, and, give ourselves that cushion. But at the same time, we're 5 games in. This is something you can work on. This is something that you can do in practice, drills you can set up, and something that'll come with time. We're doing the right things to score, and that's key. We aren't playing like a team that isn't going to score because they don't know how or because they don't know how to set up. We are playing like an aggressive team that is getting high danger chances. It is only a matter of time before these chances start ending in the back of the net more than twice a night. And eventually we do get something. Finally, the effort pays off. After a strong second period, Christian de la Rovere scores 2-1. And then the period comes to an end. Okay. Things are good. Things are happy. And defensively, we were playing fairly well. Despite that bad first period, mind you, something that I do want to say just because I cannot stress enough how much I love Ashton Bell. She is just great. She's so gifted at knowing what to do. She makes so many key plays. And again today, there was a dangerous opportunity that could have easily led to a high danger chance. And Ashton Bell got in the way and prevented that to becoming a scoring opportunity or really any opportunity. So many times where Ashton Bell had the puck and knew where to go, where to put the puck, not only to keep possession, but to keep it away from Boston. Not just, oh, I'm going to hold on to the puck, but I'm going to get it away from anyone on Boston to one of our own players so we can actually set a breakout. We have had, at times, in my opinion, some issues breaking out of our zone or breaking into their zone. It's not been terrible, but, this game, we made just a few small boo-boos, and that ultimately led to the game winner for Boston. And Ashton Bell is really good at those small things, those little fine details that I am sure, as the season goes on, will really start deciding games. And I think they already have. I think last game against Toronto, her play was very pivotal at holding Toronto to 1. Obviously, Maschmeyer's play was also very pivotal. But those little plays are key. They are vital. And so having players like that and having players that know what to do in the little ticky-tacky situations, in the small details that, will go over your head until you watch the same team over and over and over again, and the same players over and over and over again. Ashton Bell has become very, very noticeable. Even if she isn't always on the point sheet, she's always a noticeable presence. And I really like to shout out players like that who I'm able to notice whether or not they're getting on the point sheet. And then the third period starts. Now we got to talk about getting on the point sheet. It was a bit of a back and forth to start, but we started gaining momentum, and then we get a power play. And the first thing I'm going to say about this power play is it was called roughing. I know I'm an Ottawa fan, so I am biased. But that was a hit to the head. That should have been a 5-minute power play, not a 2-minute power play. And after Lexie Adzija, who on the rebound, like I said, getting better. And Lexie Adzija is really good at rebounds. She gets her 5th game in a row with a point. Absolute stud. So elite. She is amazing and ties the game up. and we should have still had a power play. But I digress, because after that goal, we were flying. We were taking shots. We were really forcing Boston to play their best. And they really did. I have to say that Erin Frankel, 37 saves on 39 shots, a 9.48 save percentage. And she won the game for Boston. She really did. I said we were lucky to get out of the first just down 2-0. Like, it could have been way worse. Boston was extremely lucky to get out of the second up by 1, and beyond lucky to have won the game in regulation. They needed a lot of things to go exactly right. Otherwise, they would have definitely lost. And that's the thing, why it's good and bad. It's good because they kind of needed everything to go right, Boston, in order to win. But it's bad because, well, when they need everything to go right, and it does. And it felt the same way with Minnesota. It felt the same way with Montreal. Part of you starts to say, okay, now we need to start making those things go right for us. Now we start needing to force those mistakes. Just force 2 or 3 more mistakes. And that can lead to wins. But that'll come with time. As an Ottawa fan, it's easy to really worry about these things, to see them as early warning signs, because, you know, with the Sens and the Red Blacks, I'm so used to seeing winnable games slip away at the start of the season, looking strong, but having those games where you really feel like you should have won, and just a few mistakes lead to the loss, and so many opportunities that you could have won, and it just doesn't break down that way, and then it becomes a trend. It becomes a pattern, and then you realize, oh, this is a team that doesn't have killer instinct, and we aren't going to win a lot of games. I don't feel that way about PWHL Ottawa. First off, I do feel like they have killer instinct, especially in net and on defense. I don't think the offense is due to a lack of trying. They do have a lot of good offensive chances, and I do think that eventually they will start delivering. And I also think their game is a bit more defensively minded, and that's okay. It's okay to have a team that, you know, wins. If you win every game with a final score of 1-0, you've still won every game. Whether you win by 1 or 100 doesn't matter. So I think it's just finding our footing of knowing just how defensive to offensive we need to play, just how much forecheck and how much pressure we need to have in the offensive zone. I think maybe getting a little bit more aggressive in front of the net, like maybe having 2 players, you know, one like right in front of the net, but then another player who's kind of in front in case the rebound goes just a little wide. You can just have somebody to reach in and just kind of chuck it at the net, and hopefully that'll lead to something. This will come with time. And I'm not a coach, you know, I'm not going to tell anybody how to do their job, because believe me, the coaches and the players know how to do this way better than I do. I am a fan. I'm your local Ottawa fan. So I'm telling things from a fan perspective, and obviously the players and the coaches and the staff know way better than I do what needs to be done. We only have 1-goal losses. At the end of the day, we only have 1-goal losses. We are yet to play a game where a team beats us by multiple goals. All of our losses have come in overtime or in the last minute. That's when the game winner was scored. So we are a team that keeps things close, keeps things really tight, and it's just about cleaning up the end. Literally, just clean up the end, clean up the last minute, clean up overtime, find a way to win those, and our record's going to look really good. So still, again, a lot of positives. And our third period, it was good. And there was another call that I didn't like after the play. Boston got a roughing, and so did we. It was coincidental. I really did not feel like our coincidental was warranted, especially compared to what Boston did to what we did. It was retaliation, sure, but I feel like, you know, the call on us versus the call on Boston, it should have at least led to a 4-minute penalty for Boston and 2 minutes for us, because it's not like they didn't respond to our response. It's not like they hit us, you know, roughing, and that's a penalty, and then we responded, and then Boston was like, whoa, like, it devolved from there. So the fact that it was coincidental, and you could tell the crowd did not like the coincidental, and it's not like I want to say that the refs cost us the game. I don't think they did. They didn't call a lot this game. There were not a lot of penalties. So it went for both sides. We got away with a trip or two. Like we did get away with some stuff. Boston got away with some stuff too. Obviously, when your team loses, it's a lot easier to notice those missed calls. It's a lot easier to say, especially in the third period of a tied game, hey, that should have been a 5-minute, or we should have had a power play. I'm a bit more mad about the 5-minute one. I really feel like that was a hit to the head. And those are just dangerous in general. Like, you need to call those. Hits to the head are dangerous. That does not belong in the league. They called it roughing, and it was 2 minutes. I still think it was a hit to the head. But even on the 4-on-4, we looked good. And that was really inspiring because, you know, when you lose a few overtime games, part of you wonders, well, maybe our 3-on-3 is just what needs work. But our 4-on-4 looked really good. We still controlled play. We controlled play for a majority of the third period. Again, lots of chances in front of the net, just couldn't quite capitalize. We made their goalie work. And then in the last minute of the game, on a clearing attempt, does not work out, and it goes right to the center in our own zone, like right in front of the net. Like, that's just easy pickings. And it happens, but to happen that late and, you know, just a bad giveaway, there really wasn't anyone there. It happens, though. You know, that's part of the sport, and it leads to Teresa Scassful scoring. And Emerance did everything she could. She almost saved it, which was crazy because it was a cross the crease pass, and Emerance Maschmeyer stretched for everything she had, and it's just, you're out of position. What can you do? And that's all she wrote. 3-2, final score in regulation, and we don't get a point. And, I mean, that's the biggest bad. We don't get a point. The point streak is over. It's a loss in regulation. It's a loss to a team we were in front of. And they played as many games as us. So now they've beaten us, and they have as many points as us in as many games. So that's not good because they go ahead of us. We're still in fourth. We're still ahead of New York and Toronto. We have a game in hand. New York and Toronto play each other. If Toronto wins, we would still be ahead of them with 3 games in hand. We would be ahead of New York with 2 games in hand. So we are still very much the masters of our own destiny. We still control our fate. And as we come to the quarter point of the season, Game 6 is coming up. We're still at around 5. We're still above 500. If we get a point against Montreal, it keeps us above 5 at or above 500. Lack of scoring is killing us, but like I said, it'll come. You just got to hold the faith. You just got to believe. We will finish the job. Maschmeyer was again elite, 18 out of 19, 947 save percentage, and I really hope Abstrader comes back. I feel awful for her. I mean, my thoughts are with her. And I was so happy to see Grant Mentis in the lineup, and she had a good game. And I was thinking, oh, like, I was so glad to see her back. You know, after she hurt her hand, I was a little bit worried. And to see her back only for another player to get injured, to see a goalie in her first ever start get injured, I mean, that is just heartbreaking. So it's a mix of emotions today. It's a very big mix of emotions. We didn't play a full 60 today. It happens, but we didn't play a full 60. We played better in the second and third period. We really did. In the last 2 periods, we outscored them 2-1. It honestly should have been outscoring them 2-0. We had a bad first period. And we got to play a full 60, you know. Other than that first period, we were really good. The first period is what did us in. Everyone's going to talk about the last second goal. It wasn't the last minute goal that cost us the game. It was the first period. The first period, we weren't ready. Again, they're coming off a back-to-back. I can't put too much blame on them. If this is how we play on a back-to-back, I'm not that mad. We lost by 1. We're going to be fine. If we have rest, and I think this is our only back-to-back this season, so if we stay rested, we're going to be fine. There's lots of positives still. Obviously, Adzija playing great. Maschmeyer is elite with 0 days rest. We're masters of our own fate. We're in a playoff spot. But if we could just clean up some of those plays, we could be in a much better spot. I have faith. I think all of Ottawa is going to have faith. And that's what we got to do. We got to keep the faith. We are going to see the breakthrough. And you can tell this is a good team. You can tell by their makeup, by how they play. They're strong. They're good. They know what needs to be done. So just give it time. We're going to see the goals come. We got a big game against Montreal. Montreal is now looking like a real threat. But I remember our last game against Montreal. I remember our last game against Minnesota. I remember how we played, how we looked. These are beatable teams. We can beat them. And if Ottawa plays with that ferocity that they played when they were down by 2, when they were down by 1, they're going to be unstoppable. So just keep the pressure up. Keep the intensity up. This team is great. And I think we're going to be fine. You can't win every single game. And while it sucks the point streak is gone, while it sucks that we keep losing close 1-goal games, they are close 1-goal games. Like, let's not go into panic mode yet. Just take a breath. They aren't the Sens. They aren't the Red Blacks. We're going to find our footing. We're going to get some wins. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to win the championship. I believe that. I really do. We just need to clean up small details. And like I said, we have players like Ashton Bell, like Lexie Adzija, like Emerance Maschmeyer, who have those little details. And it is infectious. I'm starting to see so many other players on the team where I'm like, oh, and I didn't notice them in the first few games, but now I'm starting to notice them. It's infectious. And eventually you're going to really see this team mesh. This team is built well, and you can tell it's not just from a hockey standpoint, it's from a player standpoint, it's from a locker room standpoint, that this is a team, a real team that meshes well. And even though we've had a lot of painful losses, a lot of close losses, we have a lot of positives. We've been playing well. And that's what we got to trust in. And as always, go Ottawa, go.